Fantasy Football Hub have extended their huge 50% discount on their annual packages until the Gameweek 3 deadline. By becoming a member, you'll gain access to one of the biggest FPL communities, with extensive Opta stats, player comparisons, fixture tickers, planning spreadsheets, community WhatsApp groups, and even team reveals every game week from some of the world's best FPL managers. To receive this huge half-price discount, simply click the link in the description box below and get signed up before the Gameweek 3 deadline. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fixture Watch, the series that uses the official fixture difficulty ratings to determine which teams appear to have the kindest run of fixtures over the next 5 FPL game weeks. So let's get stuck straight in and take a look at the FDR table from Game Week 3 onwards. Before starting, I would like to point out that I don't agree with all the ratings FPL have currently given here, but there's always going to be some outliers considering it is the start of the season. Hopefully, after a few more game weeks, their algorithm will start to update and give more accurate ratings. Personally, I think there's some away trips in particular here, like Palace away, Brighton, Wolves, Brentford away, that should all be rated as 3 rather than 2 in my opinion. Whilst no disrespect to Man United, but given their opening form, a rating of 4 is perhaps a bit too much at Old Trafford. With all that said though, I don't like to change the ratings myself as that would be subjective. So even though some of these ratings are currently very questionable, hopefully this table at the very least gives you an idea of which teams have a kinder run of fixtures. Ultimately, this FDR table is simply for you to study and decide for yourself which runs of games you like. At the very top of the FDR table from Game Week 3 is Brentford, who over the next 5 game weeks boast 5 straight fixtures with a difficulty rating of 2. Brentford face Fulham, Everton, Palace, Leeds and Southampton in the next 5, with only Palace away looking particularly difficult in my opinion. Talisman Ivan Toney has been heavily involved in Brentford's impressive opening start to the season, returning in both game weeks so far, and with 2 assists already to his name, looks to be offering creative threat as well as goal threat. He's also notably a superb penalty taker, so really looks to be a complete package at 7.1 million, considering Brentford's very nice upcoming run of games. For those who have a structure of 3 forwards, or for those who had Darwin Núñez in their team who is now suspended for 3 games, well, Toney looks to be a very appealing replacement. He's not the only viable option in the squad, however, with FPL assets right throughout the squad to suit any budget. There's Raya in goal, there's a selection of budget defenders, and even Mbeumo up front, who offers a cheaper differential to Toney if you can't quite stretch to that 7.1 million. In midfield, we also have budget enabler Josh Da Silva, who I spoke about a lot in one of my pre-season videos. His minutes may still not be guaranteed, so he could be seen as a slightly risky pick. But at 4.6 million, you really can't argue, who at the very least looks to be a superb bench option for our squads, if not a starter. It is a bit frustrating now that he's since risen to 4.6 million, which does make him slightly less appealing, because that extra 0.1 would likely cost you the flexibility to make moves elsewhere, but still a very viable option at a very appealing price. The next team towards the top of the FDR table is the already popular FPL options at Arsenal. Following 2 impressive back-to-back victories against Palace and Leicester, Arsenal have now got arguably the 2 more difficult fixtures from their opening run out of the way, and now head into a continuing run of kind fixtures. Next up is Bournemouth and Fulham back-to-back, both who in fairness have impressed in the opening game weeks, but still decent fixtures on paper. And following that, it's then Villa, United and Everton, all of which based on current form look to be very decent fixtures too. A lot of FPL managers will already have the double up of Jesus and Martinelli in their squads, and understandably so, with both starting the season with a bang. But considering Arsenal's form and their opening fixtures, a triple up could be justified here, and those with the likes of Saka, Ramsdale or any of the Arsenal defenders could already be in decent shape for this run. Arsenal may have conceded 2 goals to Leicester, but in the opening 2 game weeks they've only allowed 4 shots on target, the second least bettered only by Man City. They've also had the second lowest expected goals conceded so far, again with only Man City having lower. Promising numbers there for those who do own an Arsenal defensive asset for the next 5 game weeks, especially considering their very kind pricing and decent fixture run. Another team with a seemingly kind run of fixtures over the next 5 game weeks, with a difficulty rating of 12, is Brighton and Hove Albion, with a range of budget-friendly differentials amongst the squad. Brighton face Leeds, Fulham and Bournemouth over the next 5 game weeks, as well as facing West Ham and Leicester, who have both opened their campaigns poorly, so can also be seen as fairly appealing fixtures. Impressively, Brighton have only conceded 1 goal in the opening 2 game weeks, the 3rd lowest of the division, and in those games they conceded just 2 big chances and 6 shots on target, all fairly low numbers when compared to the rest of the league. Granted, it has only been 2 games, but simply put they've looked very good defensively so far, And that's reassuring, considering their two opening fixtures were away to United and at home to Newcastle, not the easiest on paper. With Brighton now embarking on a decent run of fixtures all the way to Game Week 8, their defensive options like Sanchez and Dunk could be very sensible purchases. As for their attacking options, well, Danny Welbeck and Pascal Gross look to be potentially very good differential options here, particularly Gross at an affordable 5.6 million. Amongst midfielders, no player has registered more big chances than Gross in the opening two games, with 3, as he looks to be getting into some very dangerous positions. He's also in control of most set pieces and potentially could be on penalties too, so there's a lot to like there at a budget 5.6, with very decent upcoming fixtures. The next team with what looks to be a very kind run of fixtures over the next 5 game weeks is Chelsea, who, after that little bump in the road Game Week 2 fixture against Tottenham, now look to embark on a much more favourable run. Chelsea face Leeds, Leicester, Southampton, West Ham and Fulham in the next 5 games, and those next 3 in particular look very appealing from an attacking perspective. At a fairly expensive 8 million, understandably, some have already lost patience with Mason Mount, who has done very little in the opening 2 game weeks to justify that price. But in seasons gone by, he has been known to pick up very big hauls in single, favourable fixtures, rather than ticking over slowly and consistently, and he surely has the potential to do so in these upcoming games. Don't get me wrong, I don't blame anyone for getting rid of course, with lots of good value elsewhere in midfield, but as a Mason Mount owner myself, I'm not sure I can get rid of him just yet with these upcoming fixtures in mind. After all, it's for these games I chose him in the first place, and I'll at least give him 1 or 2 more game weeks before selling. As for the rest of their attack, while Raheem Sterling and Kai Havertz are both quite difficult to fit into most teams, and haven't done much so far to justify selecting them at some very awkward price points. But who knows, potentially explosive differentials here, especially Sterling if you don't mind splashing 10 million, which does seem a tad overpriced. No doubt the value from this team though so far looks to be from their defence, with Reece James already opening his goal-scoring account for the season last weekend, and so far returning in both the opening 2 game weeks. It's not ideal when he is deployed at right centre-back, but for me personally, he'll be going nowhere for this decent run of fixtures, and as he proved against Spurs, the moment he was moved back to right wing-back, he was immediately dangerous, and if it wasn't for a poor finish from Kai Havertz, he'd have added a superb assist to his tally too. As we look back to the FDR table, we also have Leeds and Man City here, who both too have difficulty ratings of 12 over the next 5 game weeks, which is equal to the majority of teams I've already spoken about. Leeds do face Chelsea in Game Week 3, but following that, we may start to see a lot more managers picking up their options, with the likes of Rodrigo, Aronson and Jack Harrison all looking impressive so far. As for Man City, well, we all know what to expect from them, with the likes of Ederson, Cancelo, Walker, Haaland, De Bruyne, Foden, all superb options. But as a cheaper way into that midfield, Ilkay Gundogan is an emerging differential that definitely looks worthy of consideration, especially after now being given the armband as well. Other teams sitting in the top half of the FDR table are Leicester and Liverpool, and if Liverpool's Game Week 3 fixture away to United would have been rated less than a 4, which would probably be correct, then they'd have been right up there too, strong options as per. Before finishing up this episode of the Fixture Watch, let's now quickly look towards the bottom of the FDR table and see which teams have arguably the worst run of fixtures over the next 5 game weeks. Rock bottom, with a difficulty rating of 18, is Aston Villa. They face trips away to Palace, Arsenal and Leicester in the next 5, as well as facing West Ham and Man City. Not ideal. The ever-improving Newcastle also find themselves towards the bottom, and that's simply down to facing 2 very tough games against Man City and Liverpool in 2 of the next 3. As for other teams, well, Fulham, Wolves and United all find themselves with a difficulty rating of 16, with a very mixed bag of fixtures for all 3. So that wraps up this Fixture Watch episode for Game Week 3. Hopefully you found it useful, and if so, be sure to leave a like and most importantly get subscribed to FPL TV. Please do click that notification bell as well, and that way you'll always know when a new FPL video goes live. Also, if you want to access the full FDR table image rather than in this video, then I'll also pin a comment below this video for you to click and look at there. I'll be back very soon with my team selection video for Game Week 3, so until then, FPL responsibly.